Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. This is our weekly baseball betting update show that we do with Doug Upstone. Today is July 3rd, and we're looking at futures odds. Right now, we're going to take a look at the futures odds to win the World Series. Doug, thanks for being back with us.
Glad to be back. Big holiday weekend ahead. Let's in the World Series, people, nobody's really thinking about it specifically, except for some sports bettors. And there's certainly been a few changes, in some of the futures odds in terms of the numbers, not necessarily the teams, but it's certainly in terms of the numbers.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, in recent months, while everyone else has been focusing on the World Cup, Seattle has become a very winning team. As you've said, Cincinnati has started to play a lot better. The favorites to win the World Series, though, are still Oakland, Detroit, and the Dodgers. I'm seeing Oakland at about 6-1 market wide. Detroit also at about 6-1 market wide. That's a little bit baffling there. Dodgers at about 7-1 or 8-1. But Seattle, I'm seeing a bunch of 33-1s and one 40-1. And for Cincinnati, we've got mostly 40-1s and a couple of 50-1s. So what would be your best value play to win the World Series right now?
In terms of actual value, I would still have to go with the leaders, to be perfectly honest. You look at the Dodgers, Detroit, and Oakland. More specifically, the Dodgers and Detroit, which was the original top two. It's really not a value play. It's just the teams that, in all honesty, I think are the best bets, to make it. The Dodgers have come around. They had a couple of sloppy games recently, but overall they're 17-9 since the early part of June. Detroit went through that horrendous slump of being 5-11, but now have won 11 out of 13, and their pitching's come back around. The bats are working. So those are two really interesting teams. Now there are some other teams we can also talk about that I think a little further down the list of what you just said that hold some value.
So you really like Detroit at 6-1 to win the World Series. Why is that? I mean, I see a pitching staff that's overrated and a lineup that at times can be explosive, but maybe is probably not reliable enough to make me want to take them as the favorite to win the World Series right now.
Yeah, well, a couple different reasons is that they have four very good starting pitchers. And there's no question that, Scherzer and Verlander went through some tough times, but now they seem to be bouncing back. Anibal Sanchez has been solid all year. Rick Porcello is, I think he's 10-3, and and just coming off a shutout against Oakland. So I think their starting pitching is very solid. I think their lineup is, as you just said, I think it's a little weaker than it was last year. And it is still very dependent upon Cabrera and Victor Martinez. Nevertheless, there's still a lot in that lineup that can get it done. And if they can solve that bullpen, which is a big question mark, but if they can solve that, I think this team they were primed to begin the season. I still think they're prime material halfway through.
All right. Well, which long shots do you think might have a decent shot at winning the World Series with some value right now?
To me, the Angels, the Los Angeles Angels, and I know you're not high on them based on some past videos, but I look at them, they're at plus 1,500, and their offense is third in the third in baseball at 4.9 runs per game. They now have 5 solid starting pitchers. Their bullpen is, has some weaknesses, but, again, we still got a half a season and maybe a trade or two to correct that. So I really like them at that number. And the other team that I think has potential, I like the Angels better than Milwaukee, but I think the Brewers are another team that could be really a complete surprise. Again, their starting pitching is, they too have 5 reliable, I'm not going to say great, but they have 5 reliable starting pitchers. The heart of their lineup is as good as any team in baseball. Plus they have a good Segura at shortstop and Davis in left field who's got some pop in the bat. So, I mean, they can score some runs. And with their bullpen, which has been more solid than some other teams, you have to like them. And fundamentally, they're more like Oakland than any other team in baseball, where they tend to do things right on a consistent basis.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm just going to ask you one more time. Pittsburgh, their futures odds to win the World Series are all over the place. Mostly they're like 40s or 50s, but I'm also seeing a lot of 66-1s market wide. There's 3 places in the top books that have them at 66-1. Pittsburgh at 66-1 to win the World Series. That's got to have a little bit of value, right?
It has some value, Peter. But I'll tell you what, I will agree with you. I'll give you this one, and this is going against teams with much lower odds. I'd rather play your Pittsburgh Pirates than the St. Louis Cardinals or the Atlanta Braves,
which
right, much lower odds. So on that point, I'm 100% on your side.
Yeah, the Cardinals are about 10-1 market wide, Braves are about 15-1 market wide, and the Yankees are about 16-1 market wide. All those odds have got to be too low, right?
Absolutely. Those are, I mean, I know why they are. I mean,
Right.
St. Louis and Atlanta, had value coming into the season. The Cardinals, were are the defending National League champions. Atlanta still has a nice ball club. But either one of them, I mean, if you can't score runs, I don't care how much pitching you have. They say pitching wins championships, but you still have to hit enough, to win the game.
All right, Doug Upstone. So as of July 3rd, what are your value picks to win the World Series as of the futures odds we have right now?
My value picks are the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim and the Milwaukee Brewers. My picks that I think that will actually get there are the Detroit Tigers and the Los Angeles Dodgers.
All right, but out of those 4 picks, Doug Upstone, which one would be your absolute top pick based on value at the current odds?
Okay, you're putting me on the spot, and so I'm going to go with the gut instinct, the Detroit Tigers.
Oh, okay. And what odds do you have for them at 5 dimes right now?
The last I saw was 6-1.
To win the World Series. All right, thanks so much, Doug Upstone. Talk to you again next week.